Welcome, everybody, to the Unreasonable Art of Living podcast. I'm your host, Gerhard, today joined with Justin. And as always, enjoy the music. Damn. First and foremost, I hope you're doing fine wherever you are right now, dear listeners. And hello, Justin.
Hello, Gerhard. How's it going, dude?
I'm really good, man. Wow, it has been a while. I think the last time we recorded something good, it was 4 weeks ago, almost a month. That's crazy. Where were we?
We've been together this whole time.
We've been together the whole time. The last episodes were all 11 number mem episode, which were awesome to record and have the conversation with.
Yeah.
And now it's just you and me again, man. Episode 100. What a celebration.
Episode 100 of your podcast, not of the 11 Ton Bar. I think we started around like what, 84, 85, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. 100 episodes. Still
wow,
cool.
Congrats.
It couldn't be a cooler way to celebrate this than with you and have a podcast today about where we are right now, what's going on, and to just
you almost went into your southern mockery voice impression.
Mockery is just, hey, dude,
appreciation.
It's just there are parts of me that come through. I've discovered the South Carolina.
No, North Carolina, not South Carolina.
North Carolina persona in me. What should I do?
But since the last podcast, I introduced you to Bojangles.
Mm.
What do you think about Bojangles?
Oh. Bojangles, my friends. Bojangles.
I thought I was the worst at doing impressions of other accents because I can't do them to save my life. It might be worse than anything I've ever produced.
So my, how to say, what are they called? Like the rock bands and then the super fans that wait after the concert. What are they called? Like the
groupies?
Groupies. So I'm definitely a Bojangle groupie. And since the last recording, I remember it was 4 or 5 weeks ago, we talked about I think it was the first time I had Bojangles. And since then, I've had it a few more times. And I had also like a good comparison to other chicken fingers. And Bojangles is by far the best. So I don't eat fast food, but Bojangles is just something that gives me so much joy, and also especially the fries. It's the fries and the chicken fingers and the honey mustard dip. Ooh, makes me happy, man. Just makes me happy. Yeah.
I'm glad you like that. That's we grew up eating that, I don't know, maybe once a week as kids. Probably why I ended up getting ulcerative colitis in my mid to late 20s, eating fast food once a day for 20 years of your initial life. But, it's good. It's good. It's good times. Hey, it's a lot better than Raising Cane's, which we have
Raising Cane's, and I think all the other things. Because Raising Cane's was a big disappointment. I listened to the podcast by the founder of Raising Cane's, and I was hugely disappointed by the quality of the chicken fingers and the fries. It was good, but oh man, Bojangles.
It's too much like Zaxby's, and I've eaten a lot of Zaxby's, so for me it wasn't just differentiated enough, and I don't think there's anything quite like Bojangles. Which, for what it's worth, the alternative opinion on Bojangles is that it's too dry for some people, for what it's worth. But I like it.
I do not agree. Strongly disagree.
Strong disagree.
Strong disagree, and I think I would say if Bojangles would sponsor this podcast, it would be a great honor.
A great honor, yeah. I don't know how much work they do in the play and imagination or the connection and creativity community space, but Bojangles is both fun and profound.
Absolutely, and this is something maybe one of the things we want to talk about, like there's like so much happened the last 4 or 5 weeks. We we opened the application again. We kind of also like the learnings from switching to annual membership only, then also like our kind of like intentional setting of like what is it really that is 11 number, playful and profound, or like how our founding member said, like it's fun but fun and profound, which was beautiful when he said that. And I think also the human only internet, which we really want to double down on that. Where do we start? There's so much goodness in all of these topics. Maybe with the, I think for me, I think like one interesting learning was also like the switch to annual membership. Why did we do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think even our own members told us to do this. We had advice from other community leaders saying they had already made that switch in recent years for various reasons, and we wanted some flexibility in the beginning because we weren't sure the quality of the product and the service and the community we were putting forth, and so we just wanted to give folks kind of the option. And I think that was great in the beginning just because it was the very start. But now that we've been at this for several months, and the experience has evolved and the people, have matured and the relationships have grown as a result, you really they don't want, and we don't want them reevaluating the payment every month for monthly. And also, like, these things it takes time for relationships to mature. I mean, most of our members are parents, they have families and kids, and they all have jobs and hobbies and interests in their existing lives, and then they come to this space. And so, they have limited time. They put forth a lot of time every week, even given that. But, just there's a psychological, I think, difference in something that you invest in for the year
Yeah.
and knowing that you're going to be committed for the year, and you set it and forget it. And it's also, forget the discount part. Like, we discount it too because of the annual thing if they do all that up front. Financially for us, it doesn't really matter whether it's monthly or annual. It's not, doesn't have any motivation. Just if anyone else is building similar services, it's not how we look at it. But it's more like, yeah, you want people. It's a good filter, right? Like,
Yeah.
folks that are constantly reassessing, what am I getting from this every month? For at least for this community, are probably not in the right mindset of the folks that are going to be giving a lot and contributing, and not really looking at it from the long-term investment of, like, how can I be a part of this, co-stewardship model and help design and build and, be of service in the community, and be a good steward of the community itself. And so, that shift from monthly to annual helps kind of reinforce that. It also filters people out. Like, a lot of people, still come to the website and they see that in terms of, the payment structure. And, if that's something to deter someone that's not really motivated or committed to be there for the long haul, then that's okay. I'd rather us have very minimal churn throughout the year when people go through the application process, which is, 29 questions, and we spend time vetting and having conversations with them. We don't want churn. We don't want people to come and go. There's the survivor kind of concept, right? Of everyone who's here. If someone comes in and they're not motivated, or they don't have the time available, or they're constantly questioning, paying every month, then, it starts to pull down the the quality of the experience for those that have invested into the time. And so, yeah, it's pre-filtering. You have less churn. You have no churn really with with annual payment, and folks don't have to think about it anymore. Now they can just relax into the community experience and know that they're here, a part of this thing for the year ahead, and what will be. Now, a year from now, we'll have to approach this again, for all the people that paid annually up front, and or everyone that is now, I guess, at this point. And, I think at that point you can make that assessment as a member and say, wow, like, in a year, here's what's really happened. And is that a value? Did you meet more people? Did you have quality experiences both in real life and digitally? Is it still continuing to add to your life and amplify your professional, your spiritual, your play, your just everything? Or has it flatlined? And, you know, I would assume that a year from now, with more people, as we, kind of continue the journey to 150, that this next year is going to be exciting, because I don't know if we'll hit 150 this year. I mean, hopefully we do, but having people just lock in and know that they're on this journey with us for this year, I think come next year, if we hit that number and it's all quality, just a quality experience and quality people, and we just maintain that bar, then people evaluate it again and they're going to say, hell yeah, keep me out. I don't want to lose my spot into this
Mhm.
special thing that's now been
For
developed.
sure.
I want to stay in. So yeah, it's a good learning curve. I don't think we'll ever go back to monthly at this point. It just doesn't make sense. And if we lose people that, don't really want to do that because of the upfront commitment, then, you know, we know that the cost for this is less than a lot of other membership communities. And so, we're spending a lot of time putting in our, life experience into cultivating this stuff. And so is everyone else that shows up to be a part of it. And so, yeah, I think it's okay if we have less people come through in the applications up front, because we know the ones that actually do show up and they know that that's what they're getting into. And if they choose to go forward and we choose to invite them and then they choose to accept, which is all optional and part of the process,
Absolutely.
that they're in and they're committed and they know
Mhm.
what they're getting into. So,
Yeah, and also I think another benefit that is easily overlooked, like also like maybe for people who join a community like this, is the advantage for them actually to pay up front and be committed is, we all go through life and there are going to be periods maybe where you are experiencing a low and maybe there's something happening in your life where you don't feel well. And then like it's easier to question a monthly membership. But on the flip side, if you're committed to a community on an annual basis, a community is not just there for you when you have a great time in your life and have a good time, which we want, of course, but a community is also there for you, especially in times when you have a low, when you need support. And I think this is also like something that speaks for year-long commitment. And I still like,
yeah.
I must still say, like, I think it's like also like when we switched like the first the numbers went down quite a bit, like from people, like the funnel until they see the price was kind of like the same. But then of course, like it dropped quite a bit. And like at the beginning it was a bit scary to see that. But again, um, the knowing that, once people like go, like do the application and then know the number, then we know it actually that it's very high quality applications. And I think that's something um, really worth doing. Yeah.
Yeah, we have folks that are founders, bootstrapping, folks that have quit their job or about to quit their job. Um, Folks are just expanding in the corporate scene of wherever they are. And so we see kind of all of it. And yeah, I think the first point you made is really astute, in the sense that you kind of, no matter what stage you are in life, knowing that you've got this reliable tribe that you can laugh, cry, vent with, use to make introductions, or let not use, it sounds aggressive, but like just, rely on to make introductions or to amplify what you're doing, or just to be a sounding board,
Hmm.
whether things are good for you or bad, especially if you move somewhere or you leave your job or you're taking a sabbatical. Like, a lot of folks don't really realize when they go through this, and I went through this in 2025, how much of your social infrastructure is tied to work. Like you
Yeah.
talk to them every day, you might go to events, you might travel for work. And so when you take a sabbatical or you leave, you know, it's nice just to have that squad or that tribe that you can count on to do stuff with, or just banter with, or learn and grow, because everyone's doing cool stuff, not just here, just in general. I mean, those folks are exploring things and expanding in their own way. And so, yeah, it doesn't really matter where you are. And so, yeah, to your point, like being able to, I don't know, afford it or whatever, just pay for it when you can, and you come in, then you don't have to worry about whether or not the finances apply to you down the road. It's just, all right, yeah, cool, I'm locked in. It's all good now. And, you know, ideally the investment, the ROI on that is orders of magnitude. And this gets into something we've talked about in the last few weeks around like how you define success. Like the ROI isn't just like, did I make my money back or what did I get out of this? But like success or ROI here is defined by so many other benchmarks that you just don't get from a networking community or I think from other just other groups, right? Like, if you're happier and you're lighter and you're playing, you're using your imagination again. You're maybe, we've got our creative retreat coming up in Bhutan in September. You're going on these cool experiences, you're
Mm-hmm.
making new friends, like you're writing again, you're whatever, trying new instruments or whatever the thing is that we're pushing like that. I see that as just a more advanced form of a success metric than just, oh, what did I get out of it? But what did I get in all these other areas of my life that have nothing really to do with financial success? And I would wager that, if you're, you know, adding to your cup in all these parts of your life, that the money part will follow as well, whatever it is that you're working on. Like those things kind of come and go as a part of that.
Yeah, 100%. I think I just had to think about a few examples, like very concretely. I think also compared to other communities, where a lot of them, like, it's very very cool. Like they focus on consciousness, exploring consciousness, and I think there was one encounter where with our founding members, and she shared with us like, hey, she was like very grateful that she was able to, you know, in this community to feel completely herself again. Like she didn't have to perform, she didn't have to put any masks. And the cool thing is, all of our conversations are not about career, not about like what you're doing. They are really about reminding each other about what brought us joy when we were little kids, pure joy, but also reminded us um, to belong somewhere as well, to have those really meaningful relationships across the globe with people who give a damn to get to know you beyond your LinkedIn headline, or get to know you beyond just finding out what I can get out of you. And I think this is such a rich experience. And this also takes time, you know, and having this is kind of also like what we got to the core of it. I love when we ask our founding members, we ask them like, what is their vision of 11 number? And there were so many beautiful quotes. And I think Ilan, our like one of our founding members, he really coined it beautifully. We're using it nowadays. He said like it's interesting. 11 number is fun, but it is fun and profound. And he said like it's very interesting because you wouldn't marry those two concepts together. And I think we were aware of it, not aware, but we knew this is the vibe we want to create. But it was very nice to hear to coin it. These two concepts together, fun and profound, or we call it playful and profound. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I love toying with the language of these things, because, we're learning every day around what this is and the impact it has on our members and on us. And, it's really hard sometimes to capture what it is. I think, especially through the mediums we use, like LinkedIn and Substack. Substack's probably a little better. I think most folks are familiar hearing from me familiar stuff around like software and B2B SaaS and that sort of thing. So when I'm talking about an experience that's playful and profound, it comes across so unique. It's like, well, this isn't really a software thing. It's it's a collection of people, and we have a lot of stuff that facilitates that. But I think it's unique. I think it's the most human thing I've ever really been a part of or had the joy of helping build. And I think it's what kind of got us to um, the human only internet
Hmm.
kind of framing that, I had this monthly call. I think I've said on this podcast before, for this monthly call with Howard. He's a longtime mentor, I think 7 or 8 years now. I used to speak to him every Sunday when he was on my board, and now it's once a month since after Nerdle. So for almost 2 years now, it's been more of once a month. But I've taught this dude monthly at least for 7, 8 years, and he's very, very generous with his time and thoughtful. It's just very successful human being. And our call this past Sunday, I was describing stuff and I was showing him, the members area on WhatsApp and then this new like virtual experience. He's like, oh, like MySpace, and I was like, "What do you?" Nothing. I showed him looked like visually looked like MySpace, but he got it immediately. He's like, "I don't mean visually. I mean like the ability to create a corner of the internet that is uniquely you, and then share that with other people in the way that MySpace was customizable." And so that's how we think about our members area and this like new kind of 2D virtual experience thing that's got always on capabilities for folks to gather. Like, and I love that. It's like, and then he started talking about how like, the internet is just full of. He's like, it makes you dumber, right? The internet. I start laughing. But he's like, I don't. He's like, I don't really fully grok why. And I was like, let me take a stab. And I was like, a lot of it has to do with the fact that most of the internet is full of toxic stuff. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
good stuff everywhere too, but it's toxic, and we just spend time scrolling and consuming. We're just consuming stuff left and right. And I think the further we've gotten down the rabbit hole of just consuming content, and some of that content you can't even tell if it's real or not, it's fake or it's slop or AI generated, like you just get further away from who we are as humans, which is really based off creating. And then he said the magical words, which I've since the last 2 days we've kind of started noodling on more aggressively, which is he's like, oh, so the human on the internet is really about connection and creativity. And I was like, yes, yeah, man, like that's the ticket. And then when you think about how folks use the internet today around things going viral or getting likes and stuff, and is it really about authentic connection and creating and using your imagination for play? I think about the places that actually do that, like Roblox for kids, right? And so, I've talked about how this is kind of like a adult Roblox, human on the internet and the adult Roblox kind of go hand in hand. It's a great place to connect with other people who are, not here to network. We're just here to laugh and have cool experiences, have deep, meaningful conversations. So whether
Mm-hmm.
you call that playful and profound or fun but profound, fun and profound, or connection and creativity, it is uniquely and authentically a pocket of the
It's,
internet
it's,
that is for humans.
and I was just saying, like, now that you've talked about this, actually, it the label playful and profound or fun and profound is actually not as important because it's just I think the natural result of a human only internet because humans are naturally playful
Yeah.
and profound. So this just it's not really like something that we have to design or engineer for. It's actually the natural result of creating a human only internet because this is what humans actually do. And I think I just want to like give a few examples because it's so beautiful, like what just happened also the last 4 weeks. I think we um very playful and very fun and also profound. So actually we had, for example, we had our first Dungeon and Dragon session. We had an external friend as a person coming in, a good friend of mine who's running, he's a game master. And for I think we were 5 players and 2 people never played Dungeon and Dragons. And it was so beautiful to see because also like how he plays, it just boils down Dungeons and Dragons to the core essence, which is just conversation without any complicated character sheets. And I think for 2.5 hours, people were creating a story together where pure imagination and conversation and so much laughing and like so many good stories that will probably live on for the rest of our lives. You will always be able to point back at this event and just talk about the story. And so it was Dungeons and Dragons, but also like the profoundness and creativity. So I want to share this story, but also get Ilan, and we have a book club going on, and we currently reading The Creative Active Way of Being. So that's actually the profoundness. So we have a book club, which also like we ask the members, do you want to do that? And we have a book club where you don't have to come prepared. We just read a chapter together during the book club and then discuss it. And in the last session, it was so beautiful. We talked about it about when was the last time you created something and you shared with the outside world without expecting anything back. And then we asked around, like, when was the last time? And Elon, yeah, it took him a while to think about like, what was it? And then you and me, we just pointed out like, hey, but Elon, he created by, we have this 2D world going on. It's still early stage, what we call the human only internet. And he created a radio station and a jukebox. So in this
Pretty
world,
sweet.
you can walk there and interact with a jukebox and a radio station. Then you can broadcast music. And he created it for our community. So he coded it with Cloud Code. and he made it part of this 2D world. And he didn't think about it in that moment because for him it was just like a contribution to the community. It was beyond him. And once he realized it, it was such a beautiful aha moment. You could see it in his eyes that, yeah, I was creating for the joy of creating. There was no external KPI I was working towards to. And I think that was such a beautiful moment to realize. Yeah.
But then, and then we made the connection between, I think he has creative writing ambitions as
Yeah.
well, like a novel or science fiction thing. And it was like, and he was talking about how it's personal for him to release or even talk about that pursuit or, or release chapters or to anyone, right? And so if you frame it differently and you say, look, like, the same way you build the radio or the jukebox and it's just creating just to create, it wasn't, it doesn't matter that anyone saw it, like just create just to create the writing. And then if you choose to share it, the same, you ideas are like organisms, right? And they get broadcast to many of us all at once. So whatever his idea for the story is may or may not be unique, but it's his interpretation of it and his version of it. And I think it's a responsibility that we all have to, when you have ideas for stuff, whether it's a big business or a creative thing or a doodle or whatever, just like, blah, just, get it out. And then, don't really worry about or think about how it's going to be perceived or viewed, because the important thing is the joy that you get out of the art of creating it alone, right? Just create. And we've talked about this before in previous podcasts, right? The inner onion layer of creation is creating just to create, then you create for yourself, and then you create for others. Um, and sometimes magic happens, like with Elon, where you just created just to create, and then you realize it's actually the outer layer of the onion too. It's already being consumed in some unique way. So, yeah, it was very beautiful to see that kind of the light bulb go off in that conversation.
And I think
sure.
it's like, now that we talk about it, like it's just like, I think just characteristics of a human only internet. And another cool thing that has happened in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So we're having new members coming in, and we wanted to try something new. So we have designed an onboarding experience for new members. So instead of just like adding them to a WhatsApp community or member area and they don't know anyone, we thought about like, also like learning from another community. How can we create kind of like a Navy SEALs kind of bonding experience so they don't have to do, it's no survival, but something that bonds them. Like we group them with these new members coming in, and we wait until we reach 3 to 4 people, and then we group them, and then they do an onboarding experience together, which is aimed to create a first bond and getting to know, and then they go kind of like go in together. And we tested the same experience with current members, to get feedback from our founding members, but also like to give something back because they didn't have it, and to reignite their pod, or we call them the cloud. And we ran it twice already, and it was so beautiful to kind of like run it with current members already. So they, just so you know, they have been together already for listeners since March. So they got to know each other for the last 3 months. But the 2 hours they spent, like when they went through the station, which is a 5 station, and it's about being vulnerable. You share about your life, your failures, what you think your hidden tracks are, and then you kind of like create a pack together. And the end is like something, just like a great idea, like where they have like a cloud dance and they have to be really silly.
Summon their cloud, yeah.
Summon the cloud. It's so beautiful to watch. Like really, like we both got tears, like listening to how they're shared stories and talk to each other, but also like how grateful they were that they have the chance that they got to spend the time with those people. There was, I don't know, so much. We always talk about like high impact on a small scale, but I was like exactly what, yeah, highest impact on a small scale.
I feel things, and we all feel things. I always felt like maybe it's a Scorpio in me, but like I feel emotions very deeply all the time. It's a blessing and a curse. And I want to say that those experiences so far, the onboarding ones, was a way of sharing that with other people we designed something that allows other people to really feel things, connection, um, the vulnerability thing, and talking about some really deep stuff. And then also there's some creative moments in the onboarding experience as well. Yeah, and that it's just when you mix all that goodness together and you really touch on everything from the fun and profound, right? But the heartfelt and people really taking time to be thoughtful in their responses and the way they engage with each other, and then the creativity they use in um, producing some of the silliness that we have them do. What we're doing is basically creating scenarios where you have wins and losses together. So like, people bond, at least in company building, I always talked about how people bond over the really tough losses and the really big wins, kind of in a similar way. They just kind of catalyze um, the culture of the company. And you learn through both, right? You learn a lot more through the failures, I think, sometimes. But in this dynamic where folks are sharing deep personal things, they may not even talk about in their daily life or with their partners even or whatever, and it's just with other people, and then you can laugh and we send them off in a really good headspace afterwards. That then the connection that they've just built in that 2 hours, I hope is more meaningful than maybe any other way they could possibly do it. And then when they meet each other in person, it's like, what's up? We know each other. You're like, hi, it's not a high five, it's a hug, It's how are you doing? Not like, how's the weather today? So yeah, I just think those onboarding experiences are beautiful, and I love learning about what works and doesn't work. I mean, some of the stuff is a lot of this is digital. We're going to replicate a lot of these things in real life experiences and retreats that we have too. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the people. And if you've conditioned them out of the gate that in a way that says, here's the Kool-Aid, drink this Kool-Aid, and it's this is what good looks like in terms of how we behave. And we didn't talk about work and titles and what you do and how much money you make and anything like that. And I hope it always stays that way. I don't even know if I know what career most of our members have. Like,
Same. It's so
I
funny.
don't know what they
We
do.
talked about it. Like, hey, you know actually what he does? I don't know.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know what he does or how he supports her
Exactly.
family or his family. I don't actually know. I know a little bit about some folks, but I know a lot more about their like personal lives and what makes them
Yeah.
giggle and what sparks them and sparks joy, and the little things that light them up. I know some of those subtleties about them and just the little bit of
Yeah.
experiences that we have. So yeah, that stuff, and then that's right now we're still a small pod. We're still on our way of going towards 150, which we're not closing the rounds or anything now. We made a decision to just say, hey, we're gonna every 3 or so people that come in, or 4, we'll put them into a cloud and pod and onboard them, because that's maybe they're coming at the same time, which means I like to think that's when they were meant to arrive together. So instead of saying, "Oh, we'll wait until we get this many," then
Exactly.
strategically, no, it's like y'all arrived at the same time. You are in the pod. That's you are here at the same time. So that means something. But we're going to keep that open until 150, and I'm certain that over time, our weekly or bi-weekly events that we have, or in real life stuff, our retreats, our onboarding experience, that'll continue to evolve and change. But right now, it's been a lot of fun doing it the way that we've been doing it. I can't
100%.
wait. I can't like this one. So we've done it for existing members. This week's the first one we're doing with new members coming on board. So them going in cold into some of these exercises and things, and also spending 2 hours in the middle of a workday to do this thing to bond. It just shows you how much people are looking for authentic, genuine connections. And it doesn't matter if it's online or in real life. Of course, in real life works better in some cases. But, when it comes to screen time, if screen time is being used to scroll and swipe and consume mindless content that offloads cognitive function, then yeah, that's not nourishing. That's good. But if this screen time is laser focused on driving genuine, authentic connections and helping you play and laugh and feel some things and then create some stuff, that's screen time well spent. And I think that's what we're trying to nail here. But of course, just like the internet, you meet someone cool, you meet someone whatever, in Love and Dunbar or wherever. Of course, you're going to see them in person at some point. Like we're going to drive all that, right? But you screen time well spent. Maybe that's another tagline we can use
Yeah, I
somewhere.
mean, also like I think we could also like I think we just have to be realistic. We are a global world. We are highly digitalized, and we are connected. There's like a lot of good things about all the tech we have and the opportunities of the internet that we can live anywhere and everywhere and be still connected to people. And of course, as I said, like the in real life thing will be always more important than purely digital. And I think also what we realize, like the people probably the people that we reach the best are people who are solopreneurs, digital nomads. We have over 70% are parents in our community. So people who kind of like, yes, they work a lot from home and they don't have the time to, maybe they even live outside a city, more in the suburbs, more in nature. So they don't have access to maybe in the city clubs or co-working spaces. So then how can we actually reach those kind of people and provide the same kind of experience? Because it is possible that we can be digital
Dude,
and have authentic
dude,
connection.
so I just thought of something. So with AI and agents, everyone talks about, and this is true, that you have access in your pocket now. You have access to thousands of consultants, like master consultants of business, of technology, of philosophy, of books, and just if you want to learn about any astrology, it doesn't matter. You can talk to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. Accuracy, whatever, it's debatable sometimes, but you can do research. Quantity of research. Quality of research is common, but quantity of research you can do. So at your fingertips in your pocket, you have the world's best experts at your disposal. I think with the human-only internet and 11 Dunbar, with that same device, you have access to 150 of the most authentic, genuine people that are there to support you. They have advice. They've got life. They've got something that AI will never have, which is wisdom, like actual lived life experience and know-how, right? So, in your pocket, in the
Yeah,
in the in the current internet, you've got AI, you've got your agentic stuff, you've got all the research, you can Google, you can do all the things. But the same device, you can swap over Lava Dunbar, and it's like,
100%.
here's my human part of this too.
Yeah.
And the use cases, the benefits, the things that you get out of that, and that you will go to that screen for that, very different, you
Very
know?
different. And I think also like, at least I know this as well. Of course, we have to be active on LinkedIn, Substack, the current like social networks or like social media networks.
Yeah, of course.
And but even I already feel it quite like heavily, like like the difference between um, a social network, which I never knew the alternative. But now when I'm on Substack or LinkedIn, it feels very odd because like you look at this feed, you see a lot of names, and you have no connection to this name. And even though you interact with some of them, it's maybe you leave a comment, they leave a comment with you, maybe they like your post, but that's it. There's like no follow up, no deeper, long lasting, or no container that allows for long lasting, meaningful relationship building. Whereas in 11 Dunbar, I already feel it, like even I feel it, and I'm sure you do as well, is like I can open my phone and even like be it WhatsApp or a member area, I can see something from a member, or because we have weekly Google Meet calls and I see their name and they're not just like a random data point, they're just like a real human being with which we've been developing meaningful and long lasting relationships. They've become people that we get to know really well and they get to know us really well. And I think this is so different. And I think this is exactly what we always thought the human owned internet is supposed to be. And this is what 11 Number is. It's exactly how it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think maybe it's like
Yeah.
this is like, yeah, this is what the internet was supposed to feel like, you know? Yeah.
I mean, connection and creativity. Yeah, I mean, in the mid 90s when I first got on it, trying to think of what I was doing. I was in ICQ and AOL Instant
Exactly.
Messenger chat rooms. I was playing Ultima Online, which was one of the first RPG or MMORPGs, and that was certainly a creative community-based game, right? That's all it was. MySpace, you thought you were so artistic you could do HTML tags and make things blink and slide across this screen and stuff. And then you had your top eight. It was like who's my closest connections and who made it in that and who came out of it was very like confrontational at the time. But yeah, I feel like it's just different. There was no notion of really things going viral, at least just yet. I mean, that didn't happen until really YouTube and kind of early 2000s. But yeah, any means that we can use now, any tool that we can use, whether it's the internet or anything that helps drive us better connecting with ourselves and better connecting with each other, I think is money and time well spent. You know, things that make us more hyper independent or isolated or whatever, just taking us away. The more further down the path we go into consuming versus creating, whatever that even means, I think the worse we're going to feel. And I know that's true. I know that for anyone that just sits there and swipes or scrolls all the time, that it's it doesn't. You don't need a scientist or a psychologist to tell me that person's probably not. If they're spending hours and hours doing that, they're probably not feeling great. Whether or not they can tell you or not, or why, they may not even say it's because of that. Maybe other things, and that's just their escape or the way they disassociate or detach. But those things don't make it better. The things that make that better, and then once you feel good, then amplify you and nourish you are other people and people that are motivated to better themselves and better the communities that they exist
Hmm.
in, right? That's how we help out. That's
Yeah.
how hyper independence, right? It's how, I don't want to just level up myself. I want to level up all the people I can that are in my sphere. That's why folks always, ping me now, ask for introductions and stuff for stuff on LinkedIn. I used to be very cagey about it. It was like, I don't want to make an introduction. I don't really know the person. I haven't reached them in a while. Now, in the last year or so, send it to me. I don't care if I can send something to someone that gives you a foot in the door and helps you out in some way, and you need that boost or that thing. And also, I just don't think you haven't like harmed me or harmed anyone that I know. Then, yeah, I'm going to go do that. Take me 2 seconds to do that for you, and if that leads somewhere, then that's great. Yeah, and so at 11 Ton Bar, like I hope that it's 150 people who all feel that, who are all willing to take a call or lend a hand or take a moment to help the other people that are in this thing, not just you and me. Technically, we're not even technically in the 150.
Hmm.
We're just the stewards and the gardeners of this thing. But um, I hope that's what everyone does here because if you give it, I just firmly believe if you spread that around, you try and better everyone around you, then rising tides raises all the boats, right? And if we're all individually improving Love and Dunbar, we're all helping each other, then the
Hmm.
quality of all those people in that community gets a little boost as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I just had to think about, of course, I think a big, very important factor is like with 11 number, you cannot just have like a human only internet without vetting for certain things. And I think this is also like what makes 11 number so special is that the members have, they really trust us that we wait for the right kind of people. And so far, the feedback was also like they can rely on us. And when they meet another member, they feel safe and they feel seen immediately. And I think that's also like a very important aspect of our human only internet, the Levin Dumbo. There's a very, like, we wait for authenticity and just really good characters. that are,
And we're not always going to get it right. When we will make mistakes, and we'll then work to rectify or clean it up where possible. But yeah, I mean, and I don't even see it as like this exclusive club for elitism. It's just like there has to be some fence, I worked in trust and safety for 6, 7 years with Spectrum and all that stuff. So like you have to put some fence around the thing to protect it from folks that misrepresent or look to do it harm, or just takers. They're not really here to give back and to
100%.
be a part of something. And so I don't really care how much money you make, or like, well, I really don't even need to know what you do for a job. It doesn't even matter. What we're looking for is just authentic humans, and the 150 number is just this first one, and whoever arrives in this first one, and we've got some really amazing people in this first one, they'll always be together, and eventually that'll have a waiting list if it caps, and first in, first out, and whatever once we approve. But eventually, I would hope that it grows to the point where we then are faced with the opportunity around, okay, do we feel like we're really ready and capable and are we in a position to then create a second 150, a second Dunbar, and a third, or whatever it grows to. But you always want to limit it to this special group of humans so that they can continue to operate and get to know each other. Because if you have 150 people, and let's say we're lucky enough to get it to that over the next year and a half, 2 years, then getting to know 150 people will take years, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
and also, I think
it's
it was
a
also,
beautiful journey.
there was also like a question, I think it was a good question, but one of our founding members, like, how do we avoid that 150, like being part of the 150 becomes not like a badge of exclusivity or like self-promotion? And I think it's like, yeah, you said like it's really about why 150. It's really just about to ensure that we can build meaningful and long-lasting relationship. That's all it is. And if it ever goes beyond that, then we probably will spin up another Dunbar if we're lucky enough. But it has nothing to do with, oh, we're part of an exclusive club. It's just
It's also harder to, I mean, that's the whole point of the Dunbar, I guess, philosophy, right? The principle of it is that that's where kind of the theoretical max of where intimacy starts to kind of break down.
Exactly.
And so you wouldn't want it to go above that, because then it's not that you want to control it, but it just becomes harder to maintain, and it becomes unwieldy, and it's a different business model. It's a different thing altogether. And so I don't ever want to lose that. Like I think that's why we named it Love and Dunbar, is that we are focused on creating those playful and intimate spaces where folks feel like they can actually just connect and play and be themselves. And so far so good. I mean, like it's a lot of work, right? I mean, every day we're trying to figure out what else can we do to excite and delight or create these moments of cognitive awe, for our members. And I don't know about you, we ain't talked about this in a couple months, but I still wonder, are we doing too much or too little every day? It's like, do I need to ping so and so and talk to them? It's like, no, not really. I mean, they got shit going on. Like, we have these containers, and then that person shows up to one of the events, and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're like, yeah, I was traveling, whatever, here I am, boom. It's like, oh yeah. So like, I think we're always going to have that dance, but I'm just so excited to see more people come in, because especially at our size and scale, like every single new person that comes in, especially this week with the new onboarding folks, some of them are former employees and partners and stuff that I've had at Spectrum, and I'm just so excited to see some of that crew show back up and support the work that we're doing, because 2025, and not that it was lonely, I kind of went to hermit mode on the sabbatical, and you don't hear from those people that you're in the trenches with for 5, 6, 7 years at 2 companies. And to see some of them come back out, because now we're starting to produce content more and just talk about the story, and then also have them go through the process to join, it means everything. That's people that you had hard fought battles with, and whether they were successes or failures, they're still coming back because I think a lot of them really enjoyed and loved and respected the culture element of the companies that we were involved with. And if they could just have that feeling again, forget the business side of it, but just have the feeling again of what it really meant to be surrounded by really, just really good humans with a shared purpose. Back then, it's company buildings, trust and safety, blah, blah. Now, shared purpose is let's just go connect and play and use our imagination and create cool experiences for one another. And that, like, having people show back up for that, and be a part of it means a lot because, uh, I miss those people. I think there's an opportunity here to connect with so many more people from my past, from your past that we've seen, and also just meet new people too, and then mix it all together in
Hmm.
this one hodgepodge of just just fun and imagination. So
Yeah,
yeah, what else we got on the list? We talking about a lot of stuff, man.
I think we're good with the
Is this
topics.
time? Is this time for Bojangles commercial?
I think we're good. I think we we have we did a proper job on catching up.
Yeah. And we're gonna
Wait.
we're gonna do some more founding member podcasts, but for now, we're gonna keep coming back to these for I think for a few weeks because we just have so much to talk about related to what we're doing. We want to build in public with this as much as we can for it also just to help anyone else building communities too. None of this stuff's competitive. It's we're only looking for 150 people, so it's not that big of a percentage of the total
Yeah,
population. But anything we do to help other people, and if anyone listening to this, wants to apply or just reach out and have a chat about what we're up to or what they're thinking, like reach out. Like I'm happy to chat with anyone about this stuff. It's why we do what we do.
absolutely. Yeah, if you're listening to this, just go to 11dumber.com. Go for the application. Doesn't the application itself is fun. You might learn something about yourself, and there's no commitment. And if you just want to go through the application, have a chat with us afterwards, learn more about that, please, we would love to hear from you. So just go to 11dumber.com, go through the flow, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But other than this, I think that we can wrap it up for the day. We're
Wrap it up.
good. Yes. So yeah, awesome chat. We're gonna continue with again sharing about the journey, documenting what we're doing, and some Bojangles.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's good chat with you, dude.
All
See
right,
you
man.
next week.
See you next week.